The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over Ethan's birthday party. Laughter filled the air as friends gathered in our backyard, festive balloons bobbing gently in the breeze. I smiled, soaking in the joy of the moment, but that bliss shattered the moment Henry walked in. He was early, and his presence shifted the atmosphere, sending a ripple of tension through me. I had known Henry for years, but today he felt different, like a storm on the horizon. "Hey there," he said, flashing that charming smile of his. "I hope I'm not too early." "No, not at all," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. My heart raced, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. As the party continued around us, Henry leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You ever think about living without constraints? Just letting go?" His words hung in the air, thick with meaning. I felt a shiver run down my spine. What did he mean? I glanced at Sam, laughing with Ethan, the two of them sharing a moment that made my heart swell. But there was a flicker of curiosity, ignited by Henry's proposal, a spark of something forbidden that I tried to push away. "Henry, that sounds reckless," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I have a family." "Exactly," he replied, his eyes glinting with mischief. "But what if you could have both? A little adventure on the side?" I shook my head, trying to dismiss the thoughts swirling in my mind. As I moved to the kitchen to finish preparing dinner, I felt a war brewing inside me. On one hand, there was the life I had built with Sam, filled with love and stability. On the other, there was the allure of adventure, a taste of freedom that Henry dangled in front of me like a forbidden fruit. "Mom, can I have cake now?" Ethan's voice pulled me from my thoughts. His innocent excitement reminded me of what I had to lose. "Not yet, buddy. Just a little longer," I called back, forcing a cheerful tone. But deep down, I was wrestling with my emotions. How could I even consider Henry's words? Yet, the idea lingered, tugging at my heart. Later, as I mixed the ingredients for dinner, my mind wandered back to Henry's proposition. What did it mean to live without constraints? Wasn't my life already full? I loved Sam, and Ethan was my world. But there was a part of me that felt stifled, yearning for something more than the routine of daily life. I could hear laughter from the party outside, but inside, I felt a storm brewing. My thoughts spiraled. Was it wrong to want more? Would chasing that desire mean betraying the love I had with Sam? The questions piled up, each one heavier than the last. "Hey, need any help?" Sam's voice broke through my reverie. He entered the kitchen, his hair tousled, eyes sparkling with warmth. I smiled at him, grateful for his presence, just trying to get everything ready for the cake. "Ethan's been begging all afternoon," he laughed, reaching for a bowl. "You know how he is." "Yes, I do," I said, my heart swelling with affection for him. But even in that moment, the shadow of my thoughts loomed over me. The internal conflict simmered, threatening to boil over. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Sam, can I ask you something?" "Sure, anything," he replied, turning to me with a genuine smile. "What do you think about living life to the fullest? Like, without any limits?" The question slipped out before I could stop it, and I watched as confusion flickered across his face. "Are you okay? What's this about?" he asked, concern creeping into his voice. I hesitated, feeling the weight of my own words. I had to tread carefully. "I just mean, sometimes I wonder if we get too caught up in the everyday stuff, if we miss out on something bigger." Sam's brow furrowed, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind. "I think it's important to find balance. We have our responsibilities, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy life too." His response felt like a lifeline, yet the spark of curiosity Henry ignited still flickered in my chest. I was standing at a crossroads, and I didn't know which path to take. As the party continued outside, I felt the weight of my choices bearing down on me. Would I be able to find my way back to the love I cherished? Or was I destined to chase the thrill of the unknown? As I leaned against the kitchen counter, the smell of roasted chicken filled the air, reminding me of the many cozy dinners Sam and I had shared over the years. Yet, my mind drifted back to the moment Henry walked into the party, his gaze piercing through the laughter and the warmth, leaving a chill that I couldn't shake. The memory of his words, "What if you lived without constraints?" echoed in my mind, stirring something deep within me. I closed my eyes, allowing myself to be swept back to the early days with Sam. I could almost feel the soft summer breeze as we sat on the porch of our first apartment, our laughter mingling with the sounds of the city. "You're going to be my partner in crime, right?" Sam had joked, a playful grin on his face. I remembered how his eyes sparkled with love and hope. Those were moments filled with dreams and plans, a promise of stability in a chaotic world. But now, as I stood in the present, the allure of something different pulled at me. I remembered the time we spent wandering through art galleries, our fingers brushing against each other, the thrill of discovery in every piece we admired. Those memories felt warm, but they also felt distant, overshadowed by the shadow of temptation lurking just outside my marriage. The next day, I found myself in a coffee shop, the familiar hum of espresso machines and quiet conversation surrounding me. I sat at a small table, trying to focus on the novel in front of me, but my mind kept drifting. I glanced up, and there he was, Henry. He walked in with that same confident stride, his presence lighting up the room. My heart raced, and I felt a mix of excitement and fear. "Mind if I join you?" Henry asked, his voice smooth and inviting. I hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. Sure, I could use the company. As he sat down, I could feel the intensity of his gaze on me. "I've thought about what I said the other night," he began, leaning in slightly. "Life has so much to offer if you're willing to take a step outside your comfort zone." I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. "It's just, I have a family. I can't just abandon that." "Abandon? No, I'm not suggesting that," he replied, his tone earnest. "But what if you allowed yourself to explore? What if you found a balance?" His words hung in the air, tempting and dangerous. I wanted to believe him, to feel that thrill of adventure, yet I also felt the weight of my responsibilities pressing down on me. "Sam and I have built a life together. What we have is important," I said, trying to convince both him and myself. "Of course, but that doesn't mean you can't seek a little excitement. It doesn't have to be all or nothing," Henry insisted, his blue eyes locking onto mine. As our conversation flowed, I felt the thrill of the forbidden creeping in again. I was drawn to his energy, his passion for life, and it made me question everything. What would it feel like to step outside those boundaries, to experience something new and thrilling? After our meeting, I walked home, the sun setting in the distance, casting a warm glow over the streets. But instead of feeling content, I felt restless. My mind raced with thoughts of Henry, our conversation replaying like a song stuck in my head. When I walked into the house, the familiar sights of my family greeted me. Sam was in the living room, playing with Ethan, and I felt a pang of guilt stab at my heart. I wanted to be present, to cherish these moments, but the thought of what lay beyond my marriage kept tugging at me. "Hey, how was your day?" Sam asked, glancing up with a warm smile that made my heart ache. "It was good," I replied, forcing a smile, but my mind was still tangled in confusion. As I watched Sam and Ethan laugh together, a wave of emotions washed over me. I loved them both deeply, yet the idea of crossing boundaries danced in my mind, tempting me with the thrill of what could be. I felt the weight of my choices growing heavier, and I knew that I was standing at a crossroads, caught between the safety of my family and the allure of the unknown. The night was darker than usual when I met Henry for our first secret meeting. My heart raced as I stepped into the small cafe, the aroma of coffee and pastries wrapping around me like a warm blanket. I felt a mix of excitement and fear. Was I really doing this? I looked around, half expecting to see Sam or someone I knew walk in. But it was just me and my thoughts, tangled in confusion. As I pushed through the door, I spotted Henry sitting at a corner table, his eyes scanning the room with an intensity that made my stomach flutter. He looked up and smiled, a smile that sent shivers down my spine. "You made it," he said, his voice smooth and inviting. "Yeah, I wasn't sure if I would," I admitted, sliding into the seat across from him. My hands fidgeted nervously in my lap, betraying the calm I tried to project. "Why? Are you afraid of what we might talk about?" he teased, leaning in slightly. I couldn't help but laugh, though it was strained. "No, it's just, this feels so wrong." "Does it?" he asked, cocking an eyebrow. "Or does it feel exciting?" His question hung in the air, heavy and charged. I wanted to deny it, to say that it was all just a mistake, but deep down, I felt a thrill that I hadn't experienced in years. "Maybe a little of both," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. Our conversation flowed easily, the hours slipping away as we shared stories and laughter. Each moment felt electric, as if the world outside had faded into nothing. Henry spoke about his life, his dreams, and in that moment, I felt a connection that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Each word he said pulled me closer to the edge of something I had always held back from. But as I sat there, I couldn't shake the nagging guilt gnawing at my insides. I thought of Sam and Ethan, the life we built together. What would they think if they knew? "Are you okay?" Henry asked, his tone shifting slightly, concern flashing across his face. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I have a family. I can't just forget about them." Henry reached across the table, his fingers brushing against mine. "You're not forgetting them. You're just exploring what you want for yourself. You deserve that." His touch sent a wave of warmth through me, but it also deepened my internal struggle. "But what about the consequences?" I replied, pulling my hand back as if his touch burned. "What if this all blows up in my face?" "Then it does," he said, a hint of frustration creeping into his voice. "But what if it doesn't? What if this is the chance you need to feel alive again?" His words echoed in my mind, a tempting invitation I knew I shouldn't accept. I thought of the routine of my life, the comfortable yet suffocating predictability. The idea of breaking free was intoxicating, but the reality of my responsibilities was a heavy chain holding me back. As we continued talking, I noticed the way he looked at me, as if he could see right into my soul. It was both thrilling and frightening. I felt alive in a way I hadn't felt in years, yet the weight of my marriage loomed over me, casting shadows on this newfound excitement. When the night finally came to an end, I stood outside the cafe, the cool air hitting my face like a splash of cold water. I took a deep breath, trying to clear my head. Henry joined me, standing close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him. "Let's do this again," he said softly, his eyes locked onto mine. I hesitated, torn between desire and duty. "I don't know if I can," I finally replied, my heart heavy. He stepped back, the disappointment evident on his face. "You don't have to decide now. Just think about it." As I walked away, I felt the thrill of our meeting still pulsing through my veins, but it was quickly overshadowed by the pain of my double life. The allure of the forbidden was enticing, but the reality of my choices crashed down on me like a tidal wave. I was caught in a storm of emotions, and I didn't know how to navigate through them. Returning home to Sam and Ethan, The sight of their innocent faces filled me with a deep sense of longing. I was living two lives, and the weight of that secret threatened to crush me. The days turned into a blur of stolen moments and secret texts, and with each encounter, my feelings for Henry deepened. Every meeting felt like a breath of fresh air in a life that had begun to feel suffocating. The thrill of being with him made me feel alive, but I also felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me. One afternoon, as I sat in my car, I scrolled through the messages on my phone, my heart racing at the thought of seeing him again. Just then, a text pinged. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've got something special planned." My stomach fluttered with excitement, but a nagging voice in the back of my mind reminded me of everything I was risking. As I arrived at the park where we had decided to meet, I noticed a family playing nearby. A little boy laughed as he ran after a kite, and I felt a pang in my heart. That could be Ethan, carefree and innocent. I shook my head, trying to push the thought away. I was here for Henry, not for guilt. "Hey there!" Henry greeted me with a warm smile when he appeared, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Hi," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. The tension in my chest eased a bit as I took in his presence. We walked together, side by side, the world around us fading into the background. "I've been thinking about you all week," he said, glancing at me with an intensity that made my cheeks flush. "Really? I've been thinking about you too," I admitted, my heart racing at the admission. We found a secluded bench, and as we sat down, he leaned closer. "I can't help but feel that we are meant to be more than just friends." His voice was low and inviting, sending shivers down my spine. I looked into his eyes, searching for the truth behind his words. "But what about everything? My life with Sam and Ethan?" My mind raced, battling the excitement and the guilt. "Life is too short to hold back," Henry replied, his gaze unwavering. "You deserve to be happy. Don't you feel alive when you're with me?" I hesitated. "Yes, but it's wrong. I have a family." The words felt heavy in my mouth, a reminder of the life I had built. He reached for my hand, his touch sending sparks through me. "You can have both. You can find a way to balance it. Just imagine what we could have together." The idea was intoxicating, but I couldn't shake the image of Ethan playing in the park. My heart ached as I thought about the love I had for my son, the trust I had built with Sam. What would happen if they found out? "Can we just enjoy this moment?" I asked, desperate to push away the dark thoughts. Henry smiled, and for a moment, the world felt perfect. We talked and laughed, the chemistry between us undeniable. But as the sun began to set, casting a golden glow around us, the reality of my life crashed back in. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pang of guilt. "Henry, I need to go. I can't keep doing this." His expression faltered. "You're not serious, are you? We have something special. Don't throw it away." "I know, but..." I struggled to find the words. "What I'm doing is wrong. I love my family." Henry sighed, leaning back against the bench. "You're not happy, though. I can see it. You deserve more than what you have." The truth of his words hit me hard. I felt torn. Each moment with Henry felt like a release, a chance to escape. Yet I couldn't ignore the love and the life I had built with Sam and Ethan. "I need to think," I finally said, standing up. "I can't just abandon everything." He looked up at me, a mixture of frustration and understanding in his eyes. "Just remember, sometimes the biggest risk leads to the greatest reward." As I walked away from him, my heart felt heavy with confusion. The smile on Henry's face faded from my mind, replaced by the image of Ethan laughing, his trust in me unwavering. Could I really risk it all for a chance at something that might only be a fleeting thrill? In the quiet of my car, I couldn't escape the spiral of deception I was caught in. I had to confront the reality of my actions. The weight of my choices was becoming unbearable, and I knew I had to find a way to make things right before it was too late. The day started like any other, but I felt a storm brewing inside me. I woke up with a heavy heart, trying to shake off the guilt that clung to me like a shadow. Sam and Ethan were still asleep, their soft breaths a reminder of the life I was hurting. I grabbed my phone, distracted by the notifications, and that's when it happened. A message from Henry lit up the screen, and my heart raced. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Just us," it read. I wanted to reply, but before I could, I heard Sam's voice coming from the hallway. "Hey, what are you doing?" he asked, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Just checking emails," I lied, forcing a smile. I couldn't bear to see the disappointment that would flash across his face if he knew the truth. "Okay, breakfast is ready," he said, and I followed him downstairs, my heart pounding. The morning passed in a blur. We ate together, and Ethan laughed, oblivious to the tension swirling around us. I watched Sam as he jokingly tried to get Ethan to eat his cereal. "Come on, buddy! Strong boys eat their breakfast." I smiled, but inside I was crumbling. I felt the weight of my secret pressing down on me. How could I betray this beautiful family? As the day went on, the thought of Henry lingered in the back of my mind. I was drawn to him, but I also knew I was pulling away from everything that mattered. I went to my room to get some air, and that's when I heard the unmistakable sound of Sam's phone buzzing. "Sam, your phone is ringing," I called out, but I didn't really care. I was too lost in my own thoughts. But then, in the silence that followed, I heard Sam's voice, filled with confusion. "What do you mean? Who is Henry?" My heart sank. I rushed out of the room, but the words had already left his mouth. He stood there, holding his phone, the screen glowing with the message I had tried to keep secret. "Who is he, Emily?" Sam's voice was steady, but I could hear the hurt beneath it. I froze. "It's not what you think," I stammered, panic rising in my chest. "Then what is it?" he demanded, his eyes searching mine for answers. I took a deep breath, but the words wouldn't come. I made a mistake," I finally said. "A mistake? You've been talking to him behind my back?" His voice cracked, and I felt my heart shatter. "It was just a few messages. I didn't mean for it to go this far, Sam. I didn't want to hurt you." "Hurt me?" he echoed, disbelief etched on his face. "You've destroyed everything we've built together. How could you do this?" The pain in his eyes was unbearable, and I felt tears slip down my cheeks. "I don't know. I was confused. Henry made me feel something I thought I lost." "Feel something?" He spat, his tone harsh. "What about our family? What about Ethan? You've put all of that at risk for what? A thrill?" I wanted to reach out to him, to explain that it was more than just a thrill. But the truth was, I couldn't explain it. I had crossed a line I never thought I would. "I'm so sorry, Sam. I never meant to hurt you. I love you," I said, my voice breaking. He shook his head, stepping back as if I had struck him. "You love me? You wouldn't have done this if you truly loved me." Each word felt like a dagger. I watched him crumble, the man I loved now a stranger, and the weight of my betrayal crashed down on me. I had pushed him away, and I felt lost. "I never wanted to hurt you," I whispered, but it felt hollow. The distance between us grew, and I stood there, feeling like I was watching my life fall apart. As Sam turned away, I realized that the vibrant love we once shared was now tangled in a web of lies and heartache. I had to face the consequences of my choices, and the reality of my actions was more painful than I ever imagined. The days following the revelation felt like an endless fog. I spent hours staring at the walls of our home, each one echoing memories of laughter and love that now felt tainted. I knew I had to face the truth, not just for Sam and Ethan, but for myself. I had lost my way, and I needed to find a path back to who I used to be. One afternoon, as I sat on the couch, I heard the sound of Ethan's laughter coming from the backyard. It was a sweet sound, pure and innocent. I could see him playing with his toys, completely unaware of the storm brewing within our family. I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. I had hurt the people I loved most. "Mom, come play with me," Ethan called out, his voice full of joy. I hesitated, my heart heavy, but I knew I needed to start somewhere. I took a deep breath and stepped outside. "Okay, buddy, what are we playing?" I tried to sound cheerful, but my voice trembled. "Let's build a fort," he shouted, his eyes sparkling with excitement. As we gathered blankets and pillows, I forced myself to smile. I wanted to be present for him, to show him that I still cared, despite the chaos inside my head. We built the fort together, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of happiness. "Look, Mom, it's the best fort ever," Ethan beamed, climbing inside. "It is. You did such a great job," I replied, crawling in after him. The small space felt safe, like a little world where nothing else mattered. "Can we have a snack in here?" he asked, his face lighting up with a new idea. "Sure, let's grab some cookies," I said, trying to maintain the light mood. As we shared cookies, I realized I needed to show Ethan more love, to be the mother he deserved. Later that evening, I knew I had to talk to Sam. The thought of facing him made my stomach churn. I couldn't hide from my mistakes anymore. As he walked into the living room, I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. "Hey," he said, his eyes avoiding mine. The silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. "Sam, can we talk?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded but didn't say a word. I took a deep breath and continued. "I know I hurt you. I've been thinking about everything, and I want to explain." He crossed his arms and leaned against the wall, waiting for me to continue. "Go on," he said, his tone flat. "I made terrible choices. I got lost in my desires and forgot what really matters. I want to be honest with you," I said, my voice trembling as I fought back tears. Sam's expression softened slightly, but the hurt was still evident. "You think honesty can fix this?" he asked, his voice shaking with emotion. "I hope so. I want to rebuild what we had. I know it won't be easy, but I'm willing to try," I replied, my heart racing. "Rebuilding trust takes time, and I can't promise to forget what you did," he said, his voice low. "I understand. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness right now, but I want to earn it. I want to show you that I can change," I said, desperation creeping into my voice. Sam looked away, deep in thought. "What if I can't trust you again?" he asked quietly. "Then I'll keep trying, no matter how long it takes. I'll show you through my actions, not just my words," I promised, feeling a glimmer of hope. He finally met my gaze, and for the first time since the confrontation, I saw a flicker of something. Maybe hope, maybe a willingness to try. "Okay, we can start there. But it's going to take time," he said cautiously. "I'll do whatever it takes, Sam. I love you," I said, my heart swelling with a mix of fear and determination. As we stood there, a fragile understanding began to form between us. I knew the road ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time, I felt a sense of purpose. It was time to face my mistakes and seek redemption, not just for myself, but for my family. I was ready to fight for the love that still flickered in the shadows, waiting for the light to break through. Share this story if you believe that love can triumph over even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when you faced a difficult situation in your relationships and how you found a way to heal. Subscribe for more heartfelt stories like this one.